So today's topic for our relationships videos is fighting fair. A lot of times, the most difficult thing in a relationship is communicating each other's differences, making sure that you both are on the same page, and really communicating effectively. So it's not necessarily fighting fair with your words, but more or less the idea of communication. And so um, it's very important that through your relationship you get an idea on how your partner communicates with you and how fast or slow they tend to react on things that you say. And it all comes down to knowing your partner. Um, I know from speaking to a couple of couples that sometimes they take a few, the other person has to process what's being said and really has to take a step back because he or she may feel that they may say something that they may regret, and that's a complete and legitimate thing to say and feel. Other people, they just say what they want to say real quick and get it done over with. And some people will go straight for the ugly and nasty things to say about their partner and really go for what I call the jugular. And there's been a couple times in relationships that I've been in and people that I've known that have been in that type of relationship where they fight and it just becomes a very explosive and destructive force to be reckoned with. And that's very hard to build any relationship on. And not to mean just with your significant other, but with other people in general. You don't want to be the person that is known to fly off the handlebars irrationally and make irrational statements. You want to be calculated in the fact that you want to be well spoken, well articulate in your discussions, so that way you can get your idea across. Now, with relationships with, let's say, my wife and I, if we end up having a fight, we make it, and we've promised this since we first started dating, was that we promise we will talk things out no matter how bad it may be, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. And for us, that has really helped us. Now, granted, we haven't had a lot of fights in our relationship, a handful of arguments or misunderstandings, um, but we've always made a point to talk it out. We've always made a point to to make sure that we communicate our wants and desires and a possible solution, so that way we can move on. It's important that we deal with the issue at hand, find a solution, and move on. And so we try to make it real quick and easy in the way of uh, finding a solution and talking it out. Now, it may be ugly, it may be stuff that we're uncomfortable talking about, and we don't want to talk about it. But before we go to bed every night, um, we need to make sure that everything's out on the table, so that way we can start a new day. And so we make a really good point to do that if there's any problems. Um, and we also make sure that we don't go after each other personally. We don't try to personally attack one another. We say how we feel. That's another thing, is that we say how we feel. So when you do this, it makes me feel this way, or when you do that, it makes me feel this way. And be honest with them. It's important that you be as specific and as honest as possible, so that way your partner understands who you are and where you're coming from. Because if you don't, there's no real way to build a solution, I think. So that's important. And also, fighting fair is that personal attack. You don't want to personally attack them and raise the aggression level up. You want to be as understanding as possible and wanting a solution as easily as possible and as baby steps as possible, because sometimes there might be a relationship issue that comes up where there's not a real big, quick, easy solution that you can find, and it might take some time. For example, you may be accused of infidelity, and that's really hard to come back from. I know lots of couples who their partner cheats on them and it's over. Some people are willing to accept them again and to work with them. but it takes them a really long time to build that trust. And we're talking about that trust, that when your trust is initially here, but then when you cheat, it gets pushed down. And you have to make up that gap somehow. And it's not going to take quick discussion, it meets it. It's going to take a very long time to do that. So what I would suggest doing is, if your partner isn't fighting fair, try to be as understanding as possible. Try to come to an understanding where there's certain things that are not up for grabs when it comes to any discussion. No personal attacks. Have some ground rules, so that way when you do end up in an argument, it doesn't become a bitter and angry fight. And lastly, I think that it's important that you come up with a solution that both of you agree on, because ultimately a relationship is a partnership. It's two human beings living together, in whether it be in your apartment or your house or wherever it may be, but it is two people cohabitating, and you must be as civil as possible, and you must be as loving as possible. So I think that it's important that you come up with some solution. It may not be the one that either of you like, but at least it'll work. And if there's nothing and the relationship is too far gone and it's broken, at least come up with something to an understanding where both of you can walk away with some pride and dignity. Well, that's it for this video for right now. I hope that I communicated well enough my ideas of fighting fair. The whole point is not to personally attack someone, and understanding that they may need some time to think about things before they react, and understand that, and really understand your partner. So to end this video, I'd like to also say that if you're looking to propose to your significant other, make sure you keep the bearded minister in mind. We are doing marriages in New York and in Ohio. We are also willing to accommodate other places as well. You just have to let us know. And if you get me, I tend the tending thing is to put everything to charity except for the cost of getting me physically there to the ceremony. So I will do my best to donate every cent that I can to the Amyloidosis Foundation for every vow renewal or proposal that I give. So until next time, make sure you keep your relationship strong, and make sure you communicate with your partner, and not to fight unfairly. Make sure you don't attack each other. Remember, you may have disagreements, but ultimately it's the love that brought you together that's important.